final game of day 1 of week 6 of Academy. My name is Julian Pastry Time Car. I am still joined here by Crumbs, who has been on his marathon once again. We have finally arrived for our final game of the evening as CLGA Academy are taking on Dignitas Academy.
And you know who is still here? It is Ruin, still playing in the Academy roster from the LCS, so we'll see how he does. But a trend that has been happening with the team is that, well, they need Ornn. They need tanks in the top lane. It's so much easier to win with Ornn for a lot of these teams. And the big mystery for this roster isn't entirely in the top lane. I think it's Wind, and I know you have some thoughts on why we should be thinking about him as the first step to uncovering this.
Yeah, CLGA, kind of the great mystery of Academy. Like, they beat Cloud9, but you watch a lot of the games and they seem kind of disjointed, and they obviously had not a good time in Spring last split. So a very difficult team to try and quantify. Even with Ruin coming down, I think it's like, what to really think about this team. But if you just look right now at the numbers on your screen, look at Wind and wins versus losses. Wind isn't necessarily the best laner. You know, he's not like a super lane dominant AD, but he's very good in the mid to late game, especially when team fighting happens. And just based on those numbers alone, it's pretty obvious what's happening, right? Like, lots of team fighting ADs are in the meta, lots of Aphelios, lots of Ezreal. And even though we haven't seen the Wind special in Draven just yet, it does seem like, CLG, who we've seen be very successful with Ornn, as you mentioned, and just a more solid 5v5 style. Well, if that's your style, you need your cornerstone of your team fight comps to come together, and that's Wind needing to play well and not die.
Yeah, and a big part of also boosting those CS numbers is actually having strong lane assignments. If your lane assignments post first turrets breaking down aren't good, no one's getting any farm. You're actually wasting a lot of gold on the map. But somebody that is not wasting gold on the map, or at least last split, was Viper and Froggen, who had a really good game that I think could do a lot for their confidence. Now, they both played a game where they didn't die. That's actually really rare. Usually you see two players on a team that didn't die in the game happen in the perfect game, which are also super rare. But for these two players, I don't remember the last time we've seen them do so well, and it could be a very good confidence boost for them moving forward, as they were kind of in LCS, struggling back to Academy, and just believing, hey, we can actually be better than what we previously thought we were, can do so much for them, because they were making some pretty boosted plays, and seeing this contrast is a really big sigh of relief.
Yeah, and one of the ways that DIGA Academy actually got ahead in that last matchup was in the draft. It was flexing that Wukong to jungle, giving Viper a favorable matchup with the Jace, and that was one of the reasons he was able to be so successful. Froggen, on the other hand, has played super well on Galio, and I think Froggen as a player, when he's on, often just makes things very straightforward for your team. It's consistency, I think, that's been maybe the issue, but so far, so good, at least in recent games for Dig. These two teams pretty close in the standings, as you can see by their records, but we'll see what Champ Select has to offer. Syndra, Karma, and Trundle on the not allowed list for Dig Academy, and Kalista and your boy Twisted Fate Crumbs sitting on the bench this game alongside Set.
The Syndra is actually interesting to see it getting a little bit more blue side bans than before, because she's now with those early nerfs. Some players aren't really up to par to first pick her and deal with it, so she gets a lot of value if you can pick her on the red side, where you can actually flex her as well and move away from a potentially dangerous matchup. But what the heck?
That's
is that Vi locked in right away?
Yeah, that's Vi. They're ready. They see the Wukong, they see the answer is Vi. They're also going to take the Galio away, which I really like. Galio, very powerful mid laner, especially with like Twisted Fate gone. I think he's kind of the only other global mid laner you can really play. We did see Sylas as a potential counterpick in our last matchup, but I think that only really works with TF, or it certainly works better. And it's not something you can just pick and be like, this is the only pick we need. They are also going to pick Senna here on the Dig side, though. So alongside Olaf, they are setting up for Senna Wukong bottom lane and a very strong jungler behind it.
Yeah, okay, so Vi's quite strong, right? She's not bad, but the thing is, CLG is just going crazy already. Great, let's entertain it. Vi with Galio, super strong combo, kind of the same idea as like a Camille or a Set. You go in, and then Galio gets to drop on top of you, just lock somebody else down. But there's a lot of answers on the side of Dignitas thus far. The Olaf, I think, is a fantastic pick into this, and usually you want to take Vi against either assassins that are really squishy that you can instantly pop, or against really immobile targets that are going to have a really hard time escaping you. these kind of bruiser champions have a really easy time dealing with Vi in the first place because you can't burst them down quickly and they can always just survive and then turn on her. So really curious to see what Fragus and the rest of CLG have in mind with this pick, because it can either look amazing and we start seeing Vi more in the meta, or just fall flat on its face.
I think the other thing to consider is CLG Academy have played some less standard 2v2 bot lanes, and they did include Pantheon. So that's certainly an option here if Wind maybe wants to play Talia again, or if they've got something else in mind, especially because they're probably thinking that they are going to be playing against another non-standard 2v2. That might be a way to navigate around the Wukong and the Senna, who are pretty weak in lane, but certainly very powerful in team fights. Phase 2 bans are already almost done though, so Jace Draven also banned. They're against Wind, Orianna, and Ornn are the last 4 there. So some marksmen and some team fighters kind of getting picked away here.
Big trend there out of Dignitas' second bans is they're both lane bullies, right? Jace wins lane, Draven trying to win lane. So once again, CLG picking something that makes sure that Dignitas, whatever they thought was weak into, strong against their composition, strong leaning, gets still met with early aggression in the Caitlyn. And I'm thinking this is going to be the Pantheon in the support role. I think it's still a pretty viable support, and it still gives you the last pick counter pick, because you're not really countering a support when you've already seen the Senna Wukong.
No way. I feel like we've been oh my god, they picked Lucian. I feel like we've been transported to another year, Crumbs. Vi and Caitlyn in the same game alongside Lucian and his friends, Cannon and Wukong.
This is definitely a draft from another year, because a lot of these picks are just pretty interesting, but I like Dignitas' thus far, and they're interesting because you usually wouldn't see the Galio at this point.
And there's Malphite,
the
of course.
Yeah, of course. Of course. Why wouldn't there be the Malphite into the Kennen? Okay. Hard engaged, a lot of physical damage on the side of Dignitas. Kennen mitigates that, so the Malphite makes sense into that, but then Lucian can have a good time against the Galio. He's going to run Ignite. He's going to be trying to get a lot of kills there, and he might also put himself in a prime position to be fodder for Fragus. I just need to see what CLG's got in store, because at least it's always exciting. Right? They might get stopped, but hell, who else is going to play this?
Yeah, I mean, so dialing it back a little now, I actually really like the Lucian. I was thinking a lot about Galio today, and because I think he is a mid laner that's becoming more and more prevalent. Like, we have seen him a lot, but I think we're going to see him even more in this kind of meta. And I was thinking, like, what do you even pick? Because I saw Triples Cassidy today, and I was like,
not it.
That's not it at all. Like, I don't mind the pick because I think you can get away with farming versus Galio, but like, that's not a counter pick. And I was trying to think of, like, do you play Talon? Like, what AD champions can you play? And completely forgot about solo lane Lucian as a counter pick here. So.
I've got one.
All right, what's yours, Crumbs?
Nocturne.
No, oh, that's a very spicy one. I like that.
Yeah. No one pushes faster than Nocturne, sadly. It's sad because give him back to the jungle. Take him out of the lanes. We want him back.
Yeah. It's certainly a fun one, though. I mean, also Wind here on Caitlyn. Like, we did talk about how he is, a mid to late game player. CLG love to play 5v5s. It's not on. It's not like Aphelios, but you can see the similarities between this comp and other comps CLG have used to be successful. So I think the blueprint is there. It's just, can you now survive all these different counter picks and potentially the power of Senna Wukong?
Yeah, and I think the Lucian pick is also a big show of confidence there from Froggen. You don't pick Lucian if you're not ready to flex, if you're not feeling up to par to go for solo kills, especially taking the Ignite as well. So if Froggen has the mechanics, he's warmed up and ready to go, then I think this Lucian can definitely take over, because we have seen what a strong Lucian player can do in the mid lane. It's just about pure micro. Can you press buttons quicker than your opponent?
Well, we'll find out in just a few minutes. As a reminder, we are going to be going to a break to build up some delay, but when we return, it'll be our final game of the evening. Welcome back to Game 5. It's time for Catalytic Gaming Academy and Dignitas Academy to do battle in our final game of the evening, Crumbs. And we got some curveballs today in draft, but I think today takes the cake for most unexpected drafts on 10-14.
Let's see. So we have the Vi in the jungle. We've got the Caitlyn bottom, which I think might be the first Caitlyn in LCS and Academy this split. And then we have Froggen on the Lucian. So those are the three really big ones to track. And I'm kind of sad that at this point, we're not even celebrating Senna Wukong for being a new variety. It seems like everybody last week had just ran away with the Senna train and kept going with it despite the Wukong nerfs.
Yep, also Pantheon support, you know, not worth a mention either. And Malphite also has seen some appearances, mostly on the Immortal side of things, with Alorum piloting that one. But it does make sense, as you mentioned, with how AD heavy the Dig comp is. I think there is like a very obvious thing to track here throughout this game is, can CLG, whose early games have not been all that great, can they figure out a way to kind of weather the storm from all these early picks, especially something like Froggen Solution in the mid lane? Because I think 5v5, where they feel comfortable, where they've often succeeded in their wins, they're well set up for. It's just getting to that point when Dig have looked a lot faster and a lot more aggressive in the early game feels like quite the ask against Ignite, Lucian, and friends.
What's been a trend with CLG when they have these kinds of compositions is that they don't focus on the objective game too much. They're usually just so bloodthirsty that they let the opponent sneak those by, and Olaf is exactly the jungler that you would want if you're trying to deal with a team that is not focusing on objectives. Now, I want to also draw your eyes to the Olaf items. Why does he not have a jungle item just yet? Well, the reason being is that it's a telegraphed move for the Olaf what item he starts. If he were to start Machete, you know he's starting blue buff. If he starts Talisman, you know he's starting red. So this allows him to go in, drop some wards, face check, do whatever he wants, and not give away what his jungle route is going to be towards the enemy. And starting the Huntress Talisman means that he's going to go for red, and that's exactly where he's pathing to.
Yep. So one of those little things that looks a bit weird when you see it first, but great explanation there, Crumbs, as to why you'd want to hide. On the other side for Froggen, Vi was actually first picked by CLG in this game.
Wild.
Alongside the Gallia. They did have 2 picks, of course, on the red side. But not a champion that's really been on our radar at all. Was not changed in 10-14 at all, I believe. So we'll see what Froggen has to do here on a jungler that many love. But unfortunately for Vi players, don't see her very often in competitive, at least in recent memory.
I believe there was a small buff to her Q cooldown. I think that was it, but that shouldn't have been enough to actually change her. The big thing that took Vi out of contention for players wanted to pick her is that they moved her out of the realm of being an assassin and took her into, hey, we want you to be a tanky champion and just try to scrap that. It just did not hold compared to what the bruisers in the current state are, because she kind of still feels like an old school champion in how simple her mechanics are, but her numbers just don't justify that kind of play style. So maybe Fragus has figured out something new about her. At least the phase rush is definitely new.
Yep, I mean, that's not a new thing for a lot of junglers, but I think Vi is certainly a candidate for getting stronger because of how good phase rush is. So we'll keep track on Fragus right now on the bottom side, tracking the Pantheon and the Caitlyn here. Wave gonna freeze and have an awkward spot, but they'll probably break that soon, as Wind is just gonna go ahead and get a ward down. You can certainly see wide on something like Caitlyn versus Wukong and Senna. Caitlyn is so good at bullying champions that are trying to farm, especially melee ones. So we'll see how far Asta is kept down. In the mid lane, though, Tuesday actually doing a pretty nice job, despite the health bar looking a little unhealthy, keeping the farm nice and even, which is all you can really ask for in this kind of matchup. You are not expecting to win at all in the early game.
That's what we can ask of Tuesday, and what we can ask of Froggen is, let's get some kills, let's get some CS leads, let's see him pop off, because this is an LCS player, it's a veteran, playing a champion that really requires the ability to just bully out your opponent and have a great mastery over the lane. You have to see it happen here with the Ignite as well. And so far, he's doing a fine job, but we'll see if he can actually start building that lead and how his that itemization pans out, because it's probably just going to be your classic Blade of the Ruin King.
Yeah, I think with Malphite on the enemy team, seems reasonable. Wanting to cut down some of those health bars. Also curious to see what jungle item Fragus goes, but otherwise both Olaf and Vi have just kind of farmed out the early stages of this game. So just fine there on that front. Nice Q there from Phil, getting poke onto both Asta and JJ. But we'll be seeing a lot of Wukong waiting for minions to hit, because you don't get a whole lot of turns in this 2v2.
The focus is about just surviving, just getting early in. Here's going to be our first scrap. Oh, he missed the Q. He actually can't go into this. If he hit that Q, maybe he would have been able to fight a Kadiang because the axe was on the other side and he would have had to walk past the Vi. But instead, he just gets to take the camp and now continue to go through the Raptors.
Bottom side again, continued aggression and a lot of damage done to JJ there. You can see the value of this Pantheon spot. Just makes it so easy to lock someone up alongside the Caitlyn traps. And plenty of damage over the top as well. Top lane though, Ruin doing nicely. Cannon certainly in the early stages of most lanes is pretty good at bullying people, but Ruin's keeping the CS respectable, where it's getting a little bit too far between is both in mid lane and in bottom lane with the two different teams here.
Oh,
is that first blood into the trap he goes, and the Ignite as well. And now mid lane gonna turn it around as well. The taunt is good, the Vi damage is massive, and see you later, Froggen. Tuesday gonna grab that one.
Woo! 2 kills for CLG. Great timing there on those. This would have been exactly when the Olaf would have wanted to start to solo that dragon. Taking those kills now will slow him down and put CLG in a fantastic position to continue to punish this mid lane. That gank in the mid lane, I think, was the most significant of them all. Now we're gonna see the one bottom. Look at the trap placement, right to the edge of the right side of the turret, and then the double flash there. Vi knocking up the Lucian at the same time that Galio flashed. That is just beautiful 2v2 synergy out of Tuesday and Fragus, and now they're gonna be able to hit 6, and at 6, there's no way Froggen survives that.
Yeah, certainly one of the dangers of this kind of champion though. You know, when you take Ignite, you can't get out of the Galio taunt with the cleanse. You don't really have any other way to save yourself. In fact, Froggen even ignited there, so I think he thought he had a different summoner spell.
Oh, no.
Yeah, he actually ignited Fragus, so I think he thought he had heal. Or at least that's what his muscle memory thought he had. But regardless, Froggen's still doing well in the farm. We'll see how that lane develops, but is a target for a potential regank there out of Fragus, especially once he crests 6. 6, though, is also the number of Acadians level. He's been farming up nicely on the Olaf, is ahead of the Vi in the farm, which I think we expect. Olaf a very efficient farmer, Vi not great.
Well, he can continue to farm right now and guarantee himself an advantage over the Vi, but I think he needs to definitely be thinking about this dragon, because Vi can also solo it really well now. That's what she's going for. And it's going to get spotted out. There's a TP available on Viper, but I don't think the top laners will get involved here. It's just going to be maybe Dig just taking it away from Viper.
Ooh.
Oh,
Ragnarok in. Fragger's going to be forced out, but now Phil going back in, and the TP's down. CLG want to fight here. Phil getting a little too low though, but here comes the Galio. Taunts Acadian, no ulti there, so that could be a kill over, and that is the jungler dead. JJ in the pit is going to die as well. The rest of Dig diving in as Viper with the cannon ult. He's going to let it rip in the Dragon Pit, but Viper now going to die as well. Phil is going to take him out, and it's an absolute massacre around the objective. Crumbs, Froggen the only one left alive. Nobody's got any health left. They barely get the dragon, and Froggen cannot get any more kills.
Wow, I thought that Dignitas should have easily had that. If they just played it slow, right, Fragas has to leave. He's so low, he's not going to charge in, but when Olaf flashes in, unstoppable, he's not going to stop by his Q. And so Vi just gets to run away, and then the rest of the team comes in here. They think they have a wombo here from Viper, which it looks cool. It's like, okay, you get to take out one target, but then the rest of the team is still here. It's such a big win there for CLG. I think that Dignitas had a good hold on this dragon, since you still have Froggen having pressure on the mid lane. Galio's going to have a hard time rotating, and now this hard engaged comp has even more targets to go after, as there's 4 flashes missing, and now Vi is level 6.
Yeah, just missing some ults in the bot lane also hurt Dig around the objective fight. If Wukong's level 6 there, it's, I think, a very different story, but he was not. And as a result, it's CLG that get, I think, what, 4 for 2 in kills plus the dragon? Whatever it is, it's good enough for almost 2,000 gold worth of advantage.
Well, this is going to be Cinderhulk Vi. So usually when we had seen this before, at least when the old Vi changes came around, it was for an Aftershock Vi, proccing that ultimate or the Q to get really tanky. But this, kind of the same idea. You're still going to be able to hit that Cinderhulk often, and your shield, which is what you want to be stacking as quickly as possible with your dense blows, is now just going to be that much stronger since it is based off of your HP. So the HP is probably what the build is going to be for Fragas, so maybe you're looking at something like a Black Cleaver to help out the Pantheon and the Caitlyn, and a 3-man dive in top lane will be answered, but I don't think Viper can survive it.
Yeah, ulti already. Vitus goes in, the taunt's going to land, and no flash, no hope there for Viper as Ruin will finish that one off. And here comes Galio. Getting out of there, though, is Tuesday, because the Ragnaroking Olaf is getting a little too problematic. Ruin still has ulti, by the way. There we go, onto Acadian. That's going to be a kill, and Ruin, oh, he's barely going to die to Froggen's culling, but now Froggen's going to chase. This could be a 1v2. He's got Ignite. He almost has Flashback. Froggen going to dash in, Ignites Tuesday. Good flash there from Tuesday to get out.
Oh, so Dig just a little bit slow to read that the dive was happening. They at least are able to get 1 kill out of that one, so it ends up just being a 2-for-1 for CLG, but CLG is just being relentless here. Oh no,
Tuesday. Okay, whoa. He's wild. Gonna cue the wave, and it's gonna die, and he's gonna be just fine. Thankfully, already had the Justice Punch lined up, but it did look very scary. I'm with you there, Crumbs.
Yeah.
And as we check back in with the bottom lane here for CLG, you know, kind of the big winner of that team fight was Wind. 2-0-3 on this Caitlyn. He's gonna have a very quick first item buy here, and he was already winning this 1v1. I mean, look at that. That 40 CS between the two.
So this is why a lot of people had been calling for Caitlyn to come back into the game, because a lot of people were just being greedy as heck with their bot lane picks, whether it's the Wukong Senna or just being Ezreal tier Cole style, or just stacking the lane with whatever other combination that is going to be a lot weaker in the early game. Caitlyn just obliterates that. And Pantheon is a great companion to that. Think of Pantheon as like a karma support, in the sense that you're just constantly harassing and finding an opportunity to just whittle you down. But unlike Karma, that is a lot slower in pulling the trigger in and all in, Pantheon is instant. He just jumps on you, and before you know it, you're dead.
Yeah, you can see Wind already with the BF sword alongside the pickaxe, so up about 1,200 gold individually when the gold was just toggled. So we'll see how quickly the IE comes in for Wind, and if he can continue to dominate lane in this fashion. Ruin also feeling pretty good here. It's got the Cinder and the Merc Tread, so no completed item just yet versus the Proto Belt out of Viper, but he's got Comet, he's got plenty of harass. Viper not really going to be able to get through this Malphite easily.
40 seconds on drag, but they might just dive the Wukong first and also get the tier 2s. Tier 2's guaranteed, and the Herald will have to draw some attention from Dignitas, which gives CLG enough time to set up around this dragon. Look at what Senna is trying to do, trying to accomplish some vision denial with the Ola, but they have their Lucian right behind them, so CLG feeling shy about engaging onto them.
Good double root there. Froggen also chasing the Galio away, so Tuesday going to exhaust Froggen there, but he's going to have to go back and then run back to this dragon. Doesn't have TP, only has ulti. So CLG going to have to buy time for Tuesday to get healthy and rejoin for this fight. Ruin, though, is roaming down already, ready with his ultimate. So CLG are in position to maybe start this dragon, and Fragus will tap it.
That's a great roam there out of Ruin. Being able to just shove in top and come into this play gives CLG the authority to start this. Now, if Viper were to TP, if he even thought about it, it would have to be to the pit. They didn't get any deep wards. Kennen, that doesn't get to flank, pretty lackluster, and it's only going to cost Ruin one single plate for the Kennen. So 160 gold when you're the Malphite that's looking to team fight and your counterpart is also looking to team fight and not split push. This is a big win.
Yeah, CLG should feel very happy with this early game. 3,000 gold ahead already. There's yet another Ocean Rift, by the way, Crumbs.
Wow.
So I don't know how many that's been today, but it's at least
all but
3.
One. There was
all
only one cloud.
Well, it's Ocean kind of day, I guess.
I like it. It's better than the fire. Just red Instagram filter on the
Bottom lane here, Asta in trouble, gonna get ace. Ooh, good stun as well. I think Phil may have followed the ulti there, which is kind of cool. But Q's gonna land. Ooh, that ignite looks close, but it's not enough. Asta's gonna be fine.
Look at that Pantheon mechanic, going for the auto on the creep to get the extra stack for the empowered Q. Already Phil's been shown that he knows how to play this pick, and now Fragus
3 times.
You take this. There's a Galio ultimate and Malphite around, but they can just give it up. You've got Caitlyn harassing the bot lane turret, denying some more creeps, and if she's left alone, she might just take this. She's actually really powerful right now.
Yeah, has the IE already done. At best, top lane I think was going to be a 4v3 if Phil ulted alongside Tuesday. Instead, Viper's going to ulti here just to push the wave in, but here comes Senna. Okay. Ruin is suspecting more pressure. Yeah, the Olaf's there as well. Ruin going to have to ulti out of there, and he does. So Dig going to have to race for this tower now.
This is still a win for CLG. You're giving solo experience to the Caitlyn. You're still farming away. Everybody's crushing the waves, and now you get to rotate to the mid lane and potentially deny the Lucian. Whereas you're punishing a Malphite. Malphite is already happy. He hasn't died in the early game. He was able to lane and not bleed out on a ton of plates. So Ruin did his job early. His only job now is just hold side lanes and look for TP plays and have good ultimates. So going to continue to punish top is not the play for Dignitas, and unfortunately the Wukong isn't even that strong to deal with the Caitlyn, because now Caitlyn is always going to be surrounded by a Galio that can back him up, so she's that much harder to kill.
Yeah, I mean, Wind is so strong at this point, getting some chip damage onto the tower. He ulted Froggen, still holding that 40+ CS lead up against Asta. Rift Tower now going to be started. CLG, if they get this, will have easy access to crush down that mid tower and take the outer ring. So, been really intelligent about their proactivity in this early game, and they will be rewarded with yet another objective.
And I'm interested to see where Fragus goes with this build. It looks like it is going to be full tank buy. Now, you can argue so many different builds with those two items. This could be Randuin's, Deadman's. Okay, those are really just the only two that you can actually build from those. Unless he's going for a component and then like a giant spell to keep his HP up. So it might just be that Randuin's for all the AD damage that exists on the side of Dignitas.
Yeah, wouldn't mind it. As top outer tower does fall, that's 3 towers to 0 now, but mid still up. I did forget that Wind had knocked down the tier 2 in bottom lane. I just instantly saw 2-0 towers and thought they'd taken 2 outer towers in the early game, but that has not been what's happened here for CLG. They've done one better than that, now looking at about 4,000 gold ahead. But thinking a little bit more about this Vi pick, Crumbs, I have to say, like, I don't even know if Vi's that good. I think maybe she's just fine. But like, is Galio just unreal good if Fracas is willing to take Vi here?
So it was in 10-11 where I thought Galio was going to get nerfs in 10-12. I do think Galio is kind of unreal good. Now, is he OP? Not on his own. That's the thing about the champion. It's not one that you would say, as a standalone pick, he's just incredible. Well, you have Spellbook, which running Spellbook does make champions a lot more versatile right now, and you can always assist your jungler. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that your jungler can get to invade and fight all the time, but what it does mean is that the enemy jungler is not going to invade and fight you all the time because he knows that there's always a threat looming above his head of the Galio backing him up. So it really slows things down, and it lets Vi get away with whatever she wants because she knows she's going to be fine. She's also super mobile, so it's not like she's ever in any danger of being collapsed upon. So she also has a lot of shred and good objective takes. So there's a lot of perks to her, and the fact that you've got a ton of AoE is what allows her to shine, or what will allow her to shine in these fights. The itemization is also necessary to be tanky, or else you just get blown up.
Yeah, this is just such a clean game right now for CLG. Though Viper finally gets his team a turret and will take down the top out of it. Ruin has played weak side basically all game. He's going to be just fine about keeping safe and absorbing that pressure. They took the outer tower in mid, so now they have taken all the outer towers down. They've got the Ocean Dragon to set up for a very quick soul. They're constantly ganking this Wukong, who doesn't really have anywhere safe to be. This time, though, he'll run away. Astra's actually done a pretty good job of not getting picked off, despite he being the one playing weak side, as Fragus will smite the red buff away from Froggen.
Thank you very much.
All in all, just a very clean first 20 minutes here for CLG, and it is funny that maybe the answer for CLG truly is Crumbs. It's like just the nature of the compositions they're playing, you know? Maybe they just have their style, and they're good at playing that. And when Ruin on Jace, he looks good, but they don't win. But when he's on Ornn and Malphite, he doesn't look good, but they win.
It's a lot harder to, not only is it a lot harder to punish those tanks in the top lane, it's easier to play make, and oftentimes players complain, oh, why am I playing these champions? Well, the reason why these hearts, you see, we saw that, Asa, you missed the cannon. But the reason why it's so hard to get or why you want to execute with these kinds of engaged compositions is because so many champions can pull the trigger and pick somebody off. That means you can punish the enemy more, and you can get more advantages by punishing the mistakes of your opponents. And if you don't have the champions that can do it, then you're just letting them get away with a lot more than other compositions would be. So, for example, against this, Asena is more unlikely to get caught out by herself because she's going to be really, really far back. She's going to be super scared. Whereas if you're just running things like Trundle Karma, it's like, okay, who are you really going to pick off if you catch them alone? Like, they can easily run away from you. So I like this so much better because of that.
Yeah, and I like the CLG just setting things up, you know, checking the different bushes, clearing out vision. Wind has rapid fire cannon now and red buff, so he's an absolute nuisance in any sort of siege. So CLG just trying to stick in their lanes, trying to just force Dig to play the simple game against them. Ragnarok there from the Olaf, he almost goes down from Wind's poke.
If that was AD Olaf, he would have definitely died right there. So it's good on him to be going for that Cinderholt build this time around. With the Black Cleaver, once he gets it, he'll help out the rest of his AD crew, but they don't have that much time for him to complete this item. He needs to be ready for this fight, or else you're going to give him that Ocean, and this is dead.
Into the Galio, into the taunt, into the Justice Punch. What a smooth CC champ, but the Wukong is there, and it's almost enough, but it's not. His Ruin as well. Going to get wrapped up by the chains of Senna, so Ruin will not be able to get any more pressure, but still a very clean CC combo between Fragus and Tuesday.
That's what actually was the biggest weakness from CLG playing this comps in the earlier weeks. They'd have so much CC, but they would have a really hard time struggling or chaining it together. So you'd have gaps where the enemy would not be crowd controlled, and they would just be able to flash out, and it would really weaken the strength that they could have in just making someone not move for like 5 seconds in a row. And this time around, the Kennen had flash, but he didn't move. He was just chained the whole way through. You've got 2 knockups from Vi and Galio, and then you've got the ultimate from one, the other knockup from Galio. Actually, you just got so much. What the heck? If you actually add them up, you got 5. That's 5 ultimate CC.
Vi's just the next in line for the Galio delivery system, right? We have Jarvan, we've got Camille, now we got Vi. I mean, again, if you can enable it, one of those things that's just so powerful. And CLG using it to full effect there to kill Viper. He's still pushing these side lanes, trying to get some pressure happening. Also has the Leandry finished as well, so his next ultimate will be relatively impactful in a team fight, but we'll see how CLG navigate their way.
Wait,
looks
what?
to be this next dragon.
Hang on. That's a Leandry's
Yes,
cannon and not Zanya's?
No, it's not Sonya's, it's not Morello, it's not Deathcap. Maybe
Not Spellbinder.
Yeah, it's not Spellbinder.
It's Leandry's.
It is Leandry's.
Okay. No wonder they continue to pick on him, because if you had a Zanya's, you'd be able to actually get a good fight. It's like a Lissandra. So the value in the Kennen and in these mages, like a Lissandra, is that they can serve the role of a tank by creating zones of control, damage, whatever you want to call it. They create zones in a team fight that the enemy cannot come through, and because they can't move into it, they're not dealing damage. So you're protecting your team, and you use the stasis to buy all that time. So 2 seconds of staying alive is just as good as being a tank for the most part. Without Zanya's, you're not doing any of that. You just die right away.
Yeah, I mean, if you can find a really juicy ulti, maybe there's something here alongside the Wukong for Dig, but CLG is starting up their soul. Ruin's actually already been spotted, but he's just roaming down looking for the ulti himself. Galio's going to charge in. It's Acadian that's going to get in there. Wind is shut down by the cannon and the Olaf, but the rest of CLG are fighting here as Froggen lets the culling rip. So Fragget's going to have to get out of there. Does escape it now. Tuesday left alone. Going to get shot down there as the Pantheon's trying to save him, but Phil, only to his death he goes as Dig finally kill Wind and win a team fight.
So I don't know how CLG put themselves in that position, but if you saw the top side of the river, Froggen was just dueling Ruin. So Ruin was half HP before he even got into the fight. So there was no way to even turn on that when what you'd ideally want to happen is Kennen goes in, somebody sees him, he instantly dies. There is no follow-up. But Dig just got the perfect fight that they could have possibly wanted. They attacked from multiple sides. They weakened the tanks before they were able to get in line. And these tanks don't have that much damage. They really need these carries to do a lot of the work. And with Caitlyn having been deleted from the fight right away, well, there was just no hope for them to win that one. So Dignitas puts another 5 minutes on the clock. No more Ocean Soul looming over their heads, at least until the 30-minute mark. So this is going to be a pretty big sigh of relief for them, as with double marksmen in Senna and Lucian, Senna will still do a lot of damage. Your late game is really scary.
Oh, yeah. And Digga just crushed the gold lead that CLG were building. Yeah, they're still up, but it's significantly less than it was before, giving themselves time, as you mentioned. Taking away that Soul Dragon is of critical importance given where we are right now. So CLG are going to set up on the left side of the map now and try and take the next objective. They have been, up until that point, very good about just taking the game one step at a time and playing very cleanly, but that last team fight was not that. So we'll see how CLG approach the next objective, as I imagine they will continue to play pretty straightforward League here. That's Surprise Malphite. There we go. Ulti onto the support center, and see you later.
She died in the knockoff. She couldn't even come down.
Had flash, didn't matter. Didn't have cleanse, also would not have mattered.
They can think about going for Baron here, but without the Malphite ultimate, there's not a big threat of turning things around. They're going to go into the Wukong instead.
Yep, there's the Galio joining in again. Is going to be coming in just a second. There it is. Fragget's going to knock him up, and Tuesday going to knock him down.
Okay, now they could definitely threaten the Baron. Now there's going to be a TP on the Monkey, but he's still going to be dead for another 35 seconds. So a threat here could definitely work despite not having these major ultimates. If they can get a nice bait, the Scryers does spot out the trap, so they're not going to fall for it.
Oh. You sure? Yep, sure enough. Fragget's though slowing down Acadian. He's going to keep chasing him. They're just punching the Olaf there as that chain is going to miss thanks to the blast plant, but Acadian's going to be just fine. CLG do not get the follow-up pick. And with Asta coming up in 10 seconds, they forfeit their right to start the Baron. But Ruin's ulti's almost back up here.
Thinking about Viper. He doesn't know he's on a ward right there, and there they go.
Yep, Ruin going in and Viper going down. It's just so easy for CLG right now. They're finding pick after pick. Acadian low. He's going to go into the Ragnarok to not be taunted. So CLG will continue to find their third straight pick in mid lane.
It's why it's so beautiful to have a top lane tank that can just engage, because you can pick somebody off like that. Think of it if that was a chase. Now, obviously, the game would have been completely different, but you can't just find somebody and take them out like that. You actually need to do so much more. You might just hit him with a shock blast. Now they're going to try to take out Ruin, but a simple flash is all it takes. There's a TP coming in, and Wukong might just go down again.
Yeah, Asta, the target of Fragus's ulti, he is dead this time around as Phil's going to pick it up. Tuesday also TPing in, so CLG make it 4 picks now as they look to set up for this Baron.
They are just relentless, and Dig don't have an answer because, well, their way of engaging is the flank. It is having the cannon come in. It is how they actually were able to win that last one, by taking apart CLG's engage tools and finding their own. Finally, there is a stopwatch on the cannon. So maybe now with the TP and the flash being up, he can actually find a really strong flank before this next dragon. So that is what Dig have to look out for. Now there are no deep wards, so it's going to be up to the 4-man unit to group up right now, find pressure in mid, and put some wards so that the cannon can TP too. Because if he can't find an angle as good as the last one, he's just going to get ultied from my Malphite and die right away.
Yeah, plenty of lockup for the cannon. Tuesday also finishing his 3rd item, and so has Wind. It's Zhonya's plus Death Cap and Proto Belt there for the Galio, and Phantom Dancer, which you like to see. Pretty common, great on these crit 80 carries, but with Olaf running at you every team fight, Wind does need a little bit of additional defense. Speaking of, here comes Viper. Wind's going to flash out of there though, and Galio now going to cut off the rest of the team. Viper is going to be on a cupcake in a moment's notice. See you later, Cannon. As Wind's going to take him out, and Ruin, he's going to get away. He's got the ulti ready to counter-engage. Fragus, though, is going to go into Asta instead. They lock him up. He's going to flash, but Ruin, he can see it surely. There's an ulti on the horizon. He's got no flash, but here comes Phil charging in. Wind with the ulti onto the Olaf is almost going to see a Cadian fall. But CLG aren't done yet. They've still got a couple ultis in the bank. Never mind. Mid lane they go.
They're going to go for mid and then the soul. They have the inside track on the red side jungle. They can easily secure that one. And Dignitas trying to make a Hail Mary play here. Maybe they could try to take down this Baron themselves, but this is not a very fast Baron take comp for them. It is not at half just yet. They have been spotted out, so they know what's going on, but can CLG do something about it? Do they even want to? They should.
Got a blue trinket as well, so they're not going to use it. They see the Barons at 5k. They can still fight here. TP in onto the, Torn onto the teleport, but Tuja's going to take him down. The Baron's so low. Ruin, get in there! Baron goes over to Dig, but the fight has happened. There's a triple kill already for the Galio. Gonna make it the 4th there as JJ dies to win to CLG take all but 1 Baron off of Dig.
Oh, and now they still have a wave in the mid lane that they can escort, so they may just chain this into a inhibitor as well. The play never stops. I think we're still seeing the continuation of that first instance of just trying to pick away at multiple members of Dignitas. They could try to end it here too. It's only Froggen, and there is a flash.
Ulti, yep, there it is. Q into ult, into taunt, into dead. There's the shutdown as the emotes fly high around the nexus of Dignitas. CLG Academy are going to clean things up and take down Dig. They'll just have a little bit of a party around the nexus before the festivities are indeed over. But CLG are going to finish off the nexus in style.
They look so good when they play these kinds of compositions, and when they think about objectives as a part of the game plan, they look even better. So this team, please stick to this identity. It definitely works. And on the flip side, Dignitas still needs a little bit more work. I think the team is still having a hard time figuring out who can do what and what lanes to play around, but they definitely need a stronger bottom lane because CLG abused it. And I'm not talking about players, I'm talking about the draft. You got to put yourself in a position to actually have pressure and then assist your junglers in securing those objectives.
Yeah, I think Dig just kind of got a little too cute. Like, had like a more aggressive top side with the Olaf and the cannon and the counter pick Lucian, and then like more of a team fighting, like wanting to scale bottom half. And I think those two halves of the comp couldn't quite fit together with CLG just playing really solid League of Legends. And I'm with you, Crumbs. If their top laner, whether it's Ruin or Deus, only plays tanks for basically every single game from now to the end of the season, I think CLGA can be happy because they look so different as a team and they're just able to play like very coordinated 5v5 League of Legends.
Absolutely, and it just kind of sucks for the top laners because I know a lot of top laners feel like they are left alone in an island, and they say, well, if I'm going to be left alone in an island, let me do the damaging of the opponent. They'll put me on weak side on the tank and having to just sit there and just take a beating and then suddenly TP and make a few plays here and there. They want to be a lot more active on the map, but what do you prefer, being active or taking the dubs? I'm taking dubs.
Exactly. All right, with CLG's win, we'll take a look at how the standings are faring right now because things have been getting pretty murky in the middle. On top is still TSM at 9-2 with Cloud9 behind them at 7-4. CLG, though, into third they go with a bunch of other teams. 6-5 for CLG, EG, Golden Guardians, and Immortals, with Team Liquid still sitting down at the bottom at 2-9.
Wow, that is such a close race in that middle of the pack between third and sixth place. I mean, these teams are all definitely capable. We've seen them all hit really high highs. The interesting one for me is 100 Thieves that did break that spree from Cloud9, so I think that goes a long ways.
Well, we'll see what happens. So, but the Academy split does continue tomorrow with Academy Rush, where Dash will guide you through 5 games of action simultaneously. We've got Immortals Academy facing CLG Academy, 100A versus TLA, Evil Genius Academy facing Cloud9 Academy, and 2 other matches. For, of course, we also jump into Friday Night League after for some LCS games as well.
I'm hyped for EG Cloud9. That's a big one here, but in the LCS, wow. Wow, this is a stacked card for Friday Night League. TSM 100 Thieves, I wouldn't have been hyped 2 weeks ago, but they just beat C9. So, yeah, I'm on the 100 Thieves train.
Yeah, TSM going to be looking to bounce back from their 0-2 week. And on the other side, we'll see if TL can continue their run against EG. That's going to do it from us here, though. On behalf of myself, the casters, and the entire remote broadcast crew, thank you for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow for Academy Rush and Friday Night League. Good night.
Good night.
Every time.